I think there's lessons learned. I think that there are things that you know, it is also for most of the country, it is cold. It's the middle of winter. That might have a lot to do with it. Uh, it's and in Chicago we're finally under freezing. Under 32 degrees for a long period, but it can be desensitized. But in Illinois, I mean, we've got the Safety Act. Granted, the Republicans are trying to block it. It's on hold. It's in the state Supreme Court. But in some places, the local, whether it's the state or city people, have been responsive, and I don't know. It'll be fascinating. But one of the things that you and I were talking about too, and um, especially in light of George Floyd, and then we have what we perceive to be the crime wave. I, Sometimes I feel that there's not enough in the middle on the subject. I feel that the loudest voices in the room are the voices that are almost, very close to defund the police, which we don't want, but I definitely want them to stop killing us. But then they're usually countered by people who really don't want to see police held accountable. And, I want to hear more voices saying, look, this is horrible. This can't happen. We need to, I'm all for, even if necessary, overhauling police departments. I'm not for defunding police, but if you could maybe take some police departments and blow them up and replace them with something new, that would work. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think, some of the overcorrections that people feel, don't protect us either, right? So I don't know. We really need a more passionate middle on this. We need a middle that knows this is wrong. It cannot happen. And one of the things that upset me, and I'm still, of course, maybe I'll learn more in the next week, but there were five African American police officers that were arrested and charged with murder. But if you watch the video, there were a couple of police officers that I don't think were part of the beating who aggressively pulled Tyree out of the car. And I mean, it didn't like, hey, license and registration. No, they ran up on him, they were cussing him out, and they yanked him out of the car immediately. And the hand and all of the police officers had a darker complexion, were African American. The police officer whose body cam we see, who basically ran up on him with the taser initially, the complexion was white. Now, of course, I'm very light skinned, so he could be black, but he definitely wasn't one of the guys in the mugshot. Um, what is their accountability? So I don't know. It's a very upsetting thing. I think we don't want any silver lining. You don't want to always say there's silver linings, but I think if anything, if there's kind of progress would be it not happening, but a more realistic progress is okay. Our first step in it not happening is having a more effective response when it does. And I do think what we're seeing in Memphis is hopefully a more effective response. Now, it's new as time goes on, as the court case goes on, and as we start paying more attention to Memphis, we might not be completely enamored with some of the people we're enamored with now, but we are enamored with the people who are leading this response.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points. Mentioning that the five police officers were black is interesting because I see a lot of pro police arguments saying, well, look, like these guys are black guys, so how can it be racist, right? Um, there's just so much nuance. And like you said, the two extremes, one side is the defund the police abolitionists, the other side is, um, just they want martial law to stop all the crime waves that are happening across the country. The answer lies somewhere in the middle. I think part of the problem is I don't think we know what the middle is, right? If I bring up any sort of cop stats, I get looked at like I'm anti-police. You know what I mean? And if somebody brings up the fact that they do want their community to have police, then it comes across like they just want martial law across the board. I think we can start by defining the middle. For instance, John, police budgets continuously go up. Like nobody's defunding the police, and yet there's a big contingency on the right that believes that major, I would say just major cities, Chicago, LA, New York, Miami, all defunded the police when it's untrue, right? Chicago's police budget has gone up. The only place that really tried it was Minnesota, and that failed, as we saw, right? So police budgets have continually gone up. Um, how can the right, I'm going to say the right, but how can that group say that we need more money for cops when we continue to give more money to cops and the crime rate is still happening, if there's a crime rate, right? I think that's a little bit misconstrued as well. Um, Police solving cases, their crime rate solving cases is abysmally low. Like, I'm not saying because they're bad at their jobs. It's just like, this is a nuanced problem that takes the entire city, people, government officials, police officers coming together to try to figure it out. But if I say that stuff, I just come across like I'm anti-cop. And I'm not necessarily anti-cop or pro-cop. I just want the people of this country to not have to deal with the police officers in the way that we're dealing with police officers now. I don't have many good interactions with police officers growing up. It was always it was always antagonistic with the police officers growing up in the community. It was, we were used to run from them and hide from them. It wasn't what the brochures say police officers are supposed to be, right? And so I've seen cops do what they did to Tyree, to some of the people I know. Maybe not as brutally, maybe not as consistently, but I've seen that happen. I've seen cops say, "Meet me in the back alley. I'll take my badge off and we can fight." I've seen cops say that. This isn't the same thing, right? It's the only government job that allows them to put hands on people continuously with no repercussions. So I don't know if any of what I just made sense, but the answer lies somewhere in the middle. I just think maybe we could start by defining the middle. Might help a little